Today I'm going to be talking about sleep optimization for muscle growth. And this is really important because a lot of people say the big three things for fitness are exercise, diet, and sleep. And everyone always talks about exercise and diet, but no one ever talks about sleep. And there's a lot of things that you can improve in your sleep. Everyone says that sleep is super important, and then they just say, oh, just get your 8 hours every night. In this video, I'm going to go a little bit deeper than that. Alright. So when you're sleeping, it's obviously when your muscles are recovering, and so it's important for your recovery. And imagine how much more work you could do in the gym if you improve your sleep. So good sleep will help you build muscle and lose fat easier. It will also improve your performance in the gym because since you're more recovered, you can now do more. And you also just feel a lot more energized in the gym. And also it's just really good for your health. Obviously, it's really important. And also it's important for your hormones like testosterone and growth hormone, which are important for muscle growth. So the things I'm going to be covering in this are sleep schedule, light, consumption, temperature, and just a few other things. So starting with sleep schedule. You want to go to bed and wake up at the same time every single day. Alright, this is really important because you have this thing inside you called your circadian rhythm, and it's basically like your internal clock. So it knows the time that you go to sleep and wake up, and so you want that to be the same every day so you can kind of get it in sync. If your sleep schedule is all over the place, like you're going to bed super late on weekends and early on weekdays, then your circadian rhythm is also going to be all over the place. And this is important because of certain hormones, like especially melatonin and cortisol, because your circadian rhythm knows, like if it's in sync and you're going to bed at the same time every day, then your body will know when to produce the melatonin to fall asleep easier. But if you like throw your schedule off a lot, then it won't know when to do that, and then your sleep will suffer. And same with cortisol being released in the morning. Also, another really big one is growth hormone. So in the first 2 hours of your sleep, that's when you're releasing the most growth hormone. But the thing is, if you just go to bed like 2 hours later, you would think, oh, I'll just get it in the first 2 hours of my sleep, right? But you actually completely miss it. It's completely dependent on the same time. So if you go to bed at 8 every day, then between 8 and 10, you're getting like your most growth hormone, right? But if one day you decided to go to bed at 10, you would think you would just get your release in from 10 to 12, right? But you actually just miss it completely. And obviously growth hormone is really important for a lot of things like recovery, and it's anti-catabolic, so it helps you build muscle. And you don't have to sleep early, it's just about making it the same time every day. This is probably one of the most important things. And you want to give yourself a long duration in bed, obviously. And hours in bed do not equal hours of sleep because obviously it takes time to fall asleep, and you might also wake up in the middle of the night. You want to be getting around 8 to 10 hours of sleep, and I found that 9 seems to be the sweet spot because you have sleep cycles which are about 90 minutes, and you want to wake up at the end of that sleep cycle, so 9 hours kind of fits that perfectly. Have you ever woken up with a little bit less sleep than usual, but you actually feel more energized? Well, it could be because of that sleep cycle. And for example, I would say 7.5 hours is probably better than 8, just because it's right at the end of the sleep cycle. But if you wake up after 8 hours or 8.5, then you're kind of waking up right in the middle of the cycle when you're in a more like deep stage of sleep. So you're like less awake. But yeah, just try to get 9 hours. And obviously try to make it consistent as much as possible, and especially on weekends. I know a lot of people, they go to bed at a normal time on weekdays and wake up pretty early, but then on weekends, they go to bed at like 2 a.m. and then wake up like in the middle of the day. So a few practical things you can do are make a habit tracker and also set a bedtime alarm, not a wake-up alarm, but actually an alarm to go to bed. And if you want to stay up late occasionally, then go ahead, of course, but don't be staying up late on weekends, because like 2 days of staying up late and 5 days of waking up early and going to bed early, that's a shit ratio. Like think about that, that's almost a third of your days that you're messing up your circadian rhythm. So really, this is just about changing lifestyle, and if you really want good results, then this is one of the biggest things. This is one of the most important parts to having good sleep. So yeah, I would try to optimize that. The next thing is light and darkness. So first, there's lots to cover in this, so I'll just cover it in the morning first. Obviously, you want to get morning sunlight, and you want to get this as early as possible, preferably within like 30 minutes of waking up. And even if there's not like direct sunlight, it's still good. You just have to have like bright light outside, which there is, even if it's cloudy. And the reason you want to get this is because it helps set your circadian rhythm. And if you think about our ancestors, they were waking up right in the sunlight. They were getting their morning sunlight within the first minute of waking up, right? And so basically, it helps set your circadian rhythm because when you get the light in your eyes, it signals you to like be more awake. It releases cortisol, and it basically suppresses your melatonin. So basically, like right after you wake up, just stand outside for like 5 minutes and just look at the sky to the brightest part. Maybe don't look directly at the sun, but like kind of near it if it's on a sunny day. It depends on where you live, but for me personally, in the winter, it's like pitch black for the first 2 hours that I'm awake. So it's kind of hard to get the sunlight in. And especially, since it can be cold outside, you just kind of don't want to do it. But in the summer, I would really take advantage of this because as you can see right now, it's like 7 in the morning and it's pretty bright out. Even at 5 a.m. when I wake up, it's like pretty bright. So yeah. Another thing I have is a light alarm. So instead of sound, I actually have LEDs that I have like an app where you can set a timer. So I just set it to turn on when I want to wake up on like the brightest setting. And I find that it works better than the sound, and it's kind of more natural because like if you think about our ancestors, they were waking up from just the morning because the sun was out and it was bright, right? But if you think about waking up to a sound, it's kind of like a stress response, right? There's like actual sun alarms that you can get, which are like these things that just glow really bright at a set time, but I just have LEDs. I could probably show you. As you can see, I just have it on the white setting, just like that. You know what, I'm gonna keep that on. So before bed, this is like really the big part here. So you want a dark environment about 30 to 60 minutes before bed. So basically, like in the time before you sleep, you want it to be pretty dark because that's when you can actually produce melatonin. If it's too bright, then you can't produce melatonin. And even like a ceiling light is like too bright for this. So the three things you want to do are have dim lights, obviously. You want to have red lights and low set lights. So I actually don't use these ones at night, but well, I'll just start with the dim lights. So obviously you want it to be dim for obvious reasons. And then the red light actually doesn't really suppress your melatonin as much. And then the low lights, because when the light is low, like just low set, kind of like by your feet, by the floor, that also doesn't disrupt your melatonin as much. Because if you think about it, an overhead light kind of represents like the sun in the middle of the day. So that'll make you more awake. But a low set light is kind of more like the sunset, so it's more natural. And no, I'm not making this stuff up. Like most of it's from Andrew Huberman. And obviously, don't have your ceiling light on right before going to sleep and then turn it off when you're about to go to sleep. Like that's just way too bright. And as for your phone, you're gonna want to put it on minimum brightness and also turn on night shift to like the maximum warmth. And just try not to use your phone really at all for the last like 30 minutes before you're about to go to sleep. Also, another little bonus thing is that you can watch the sunset. And so even though you're looking at light, it actually kind of helps you sleep because once again, it kind of like helps your circadian rhythm know when the sun is going down because naturally we're supposed to sleep when the sun goes down and wake up when the sun comes up. So that's why light is really important. And you want it to be just bright enough so you can see what you're doing, but no brighter. You're probably going to want to get some dim red lights for like every room that you go in for about 30 minutes before you go to sleep. Like for example, I have like LEDs under my table, just like these ones, but it's under my table, so it's low set. I just have it on the minimum brightness, and it's red, and that's just all I use for before I sleep. And also for my bathroom, I have a red light bulb that you just like plug in the wall, because the bathroom lights are just way too bright. And during the night, you want it to be as dark as possible. You want it to be pitch black. You want to eliminate as much light as you can. So obviously, I have blackout curtains right here, and these are very important. And I actually had to get two layers of blackout curtains because it was dark enough. And yeah, you basically just want to make it as dark as possible and eliminate small light sources as well. So like any little red lights or a clock or like under your door if there's light coming through, you just want to try to block up as much light as possible. Blackout curtains are probably like one of the highest ROI things you can get and the easiest thing you can get to improve your sleep. And if you wake up in the middle of the night, then obviously you want to have like a pretty dim light. Okay, next is consumption. So, consumption in terms of food, I would say you don't want to consume any carbs for about 2 hours before bed. And the reason is because when you eat carbs, that spikes your insulin, right? And insulin blocks the secretion of growth hormone. And like I said, in the first 2 hours, you're getting the biggest secretion of growth hormone in the 24 hours. And so if you eat carbs right before bed, then you're also kind of suppressing that growth hormone. Chances are, if you want to build more muscle, you also probably want to get taller, and growth hormone is really important for that, at least if you're still growing. So you're going to eat something, try to eat something with low or no carbs, and honestly, I would say just don't eat anything for like an hour before bed, because if you're digesting food, it makes it kind of harder to sleep. And there's also consumption in terms of what you put into your brain. And obviously, you don't want to be on social media close to bed, because when you're on social media, it sort of like stimulates your brain, and it can make you sort of aggravated if you see something controversial. So just cut out all that crap before bed, especially. And don't check any messages either, because if you check a message, that could like easily just take an hour of your time if there's something there. And also your mind will just be thinking about these things before you're going to sleep. So just try not to use any technology like an hour before bed for the reasons I mentioned now, and also because the light it produces. Just have a peaceful environment before you're going to sleep. Like maybe read a book or something. So the next is temperature. This one will be quite brief, but let's get through. So obviously you want to sleep in a cool environment, because if you've ever noticed, when you're really hot, you can't sleep at all, and it's not very fun. So try to make your environment, like the room you sleep in, as cool as possible. And you might want to open a window, or like I used to just hold an ice pack in my hand while I slept. It didn't really work that good, to be honest, but I don't know, just whatever way you could find out. Make sure you're cool before you sleep. And also try not to exercise like right before you sleep, because this could increase your body temperature. Okay, now a few other little tips you can use to improve your sleep. So obviously exercise throughout the day. I know if you're watching this, you probably already do that. So yeah, I just had to mention it though. Meditation and breathing techniques, these can be very useful to make you more relaxed and just more tired. The next thing is taping your mouth shut and using nose strips. So obviously you don't want to be a mouth breather in your sleep for many reasons, but a big one is just because it really ruins your sleep quality, because you're not getting adequate oxygen and your breathing is just terrible in your sleep. So you want to just take a little piece of medical tape and tape your mouth shut, and then nose strips you can use basically just goes on your nose to kind of help open it a bit to breathe better if you struggle with that. But yeah, I mean, the nose strips aren't really essential. It's just if you like struggle to breathe through your nose. But the mouth tape, like you don't know if you're breathing through your mouth in your sleep or not. You could be and not even know. So if you can put like a small piece of tape that's like very loosely attached, and you wake up in the morning and it's still there, then chances are you're not mouth breathing. So that's good. I would recommend you do this every day, pretty much. Tape your mouth shut when you sleep for about like, a few months or so. And then after that, you're probably going to be breathing through your nose. I mean, it really depends on your starting place. Like, if you're starting as a complete mouth breather, then you'll probably have to use it for longer. That's it. Bye.